This is unprecedented. I'm Adam Klein, winner of Survivor Millennials vs. Generation X. Get ready to shout through your confessionals all season long. It's Survivor Talk with D&D.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 321st and final weekly episode of Survivor Talk with D&D. I'm Dwaine. I'm here with David, and we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing good, but before anybody starts asking, I asked Dwaine to put in the word weekly because if Steve or Andy ever get on Survivor, we may consider doing some random podcasts about Survivor.
I think you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to an open casting call recently, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Well, you've heard him. Tonight we are joined by Andy Baker, writer of The Baker's Dozen, and Steve Helling, big breath, senior writer at People Magazine and TV host for Murder/Scandal Made Me Famous. Wow. Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be here.
Good to be here.
Thank you for
It's the end of an era. So
I know. I'm a little. It's bittersweet. I'm a little sad tonight.
Yeah, well, I must admit, when I first wrote 21st and final weekly episode, it was a little hard for me. Yeah. David's like, not me. About darn time.
Well, we'll keep your mind off of it by making fools of ourselves.
Yes.
And probably, tossing on the tinfoil buff a little bit. Just to get everyone worked up.
Oh gosh, I so knew the tinfoil hat's coming on. But I don't know if you listened to Cass last week, but she put on the hat too. So,
well, and she's knowledgeable. I mean, when she talks about how people like producers are telling her, well, this would be cool, maybe you should vote this way. Doesn't that confirm some of that crazy stuff I've been talking about over the years?
It kind of does. I'm looking forward to getting into that. So before we get to the finale, Andy and Steve, can you want a brief moment tell us what you've been up to since we last talked?
Well, Steve's got more interesting stuff to talk about.
Steve, Steve, can you keep this short, you think? All the things you've been up to?
I don't think I can, but I'll try. So my TV shows, Murder Made Me Famous is in season 5, and Scandal Made Me Famous is in season 3. I'm still a senior writer at People Magazine. I'm still a dad of 6 kids. I guess that's pretty much it.
Cool.
I've just been working. So.
All right.
Have you done any more crazy Half-Baked and Afraids or Life in the Darkness or anything like that?
Okay, Darkness was the last one I did. So if we've talked about Darkness, I get to do these reality shows, so why not, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But the ratings of Darkness were not what we hoped they would be. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I watched. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's supposed to be a full episode that's going to be airing in January, although I don't have a date yet. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is me holding my breath for that to ever see the light of day. But I still love the Discovery Channel, and I still love working with them. So.
Well, there you go. So how about you, Andy? Anything interesting happening besides getting ready for Durham Warriors? Or is that it's not Durham Warriors anymore, though. What's it called now?
Yeah, it's just a Survival Challenge 2018.
Well, that's going to be a blast.
And when I'm not busy being a father and a husband and a middle school English teacher, God help me.
Yeah, really.
We're planning a very big and very special event next summer, shifting our sites to Illinois, and brace yourselves and apply in January. It's going to be great.
That's right. By the way, just to give you hope in the future, all famous writers, almost all of them, like Stephen King, for example, taught English. Just saying.
It's true.
That's right.
And I guess I just have.
I never taught English, and I'm a famous writer.
Oh.
I have to tell you, Steve, we are genuinely curious and a bit afraid of just how many people might apply to the SC, given that how many people read your piece about it, which was lovely, but like 1 million people?
Like that. So,
yeah.
Well, just so you know, I'm still considering just just showing up to play.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. You don't have to bother with all
here I am.
Yeah.
Just pretend like you guys have accepted me to play again.
Kick somebody off because I'm here.
No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to we're all going to show up and they're going to do the count. They're going to be like, wait, who's extra?
Why is there an extra guy in that tribe?
That's why you're growing the beard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't recognize you.
All right. All right. Well, before at the top of the show, here at the top of the show, we don't always do this, but I want to say thank you. It's our last episode for me to do this. So thank you to our faithful D&D patrons. Because of them, all of our previous episodes and any future special episodes of Survivor Talk with D&D will be available on our website, iTunes, and all other podcast sources. And it's all because of our D&D patrons. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much. They also make it possible for us to host Movie Talk with D&D, which we'll be doing Star Wars here in just a couple of weeks, if not next week, and Rewind Fast Forward with D&D. If you haven't heard of those two, those are other podcasts that we do that we are not stopping. And if you aren't a D&D patron, well, you can at least thank those who are, because it's because of them that you get to keep on listening to us. And so there you go. We also want to thank everyone who participated in the video that Mark Percy made for us. I don't know about David, but I watched it. I'm sure he did, and it was very moving and touching, and I thank you very much for all of those who were able to participate, and especially to Mark for doing it. Did you get to watch it, David?
Absolutely. I've already texted a few of the survivors thanking them for doing that.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I should do that so you don't up me on that. Yeah.
Too late.
Crud. Well, you always communicate with them more than I do, so it's all right. It's all right. So anyway, so we're going to get down to business tonight. We are discussing the finale of Survivor and Heroes versus Healers versus Hunters $1 Million Night. Okay, guys, it's time for some Survivor talk. And I have an initial thought about last night's episode, and it might just get us right into some fun talk. You ready?
Bring it on.
All right.
Let's do it.
I wish the Final Four twist hadn't been soiled, because I like the twist, but I wish it hadn't been soiled by Ben finding all three idols so easily, because I like the twist, and I hope it continues. So I like the twist, but I feel like if Ben hadn't found those three idols and the conspiracy theories hadn't begun because of it, that people wouldn't have disliked the twist so much. That's my thought.
I think maybe, but I think really the problem is nobody likes it when when a twist that's a fundamental change of the game is sprung on the contestants at the last minute, and then they can't really prepare for it. Look,
fair,
I get it.
fair.
Some twists work, to spring them at the last minute. Something that's as fundamental as this is how the voting works is a tough one to spring, by calling it, and just because you call something an advantage doesn't make it an advantage.
Well, yeah.
And and it just wasn't for Chrissy. And I love Ben, I really do, but I was sad for the other three because I felt like this might have been a step too far.
Okay, well, let's say that. Okay, so that's another thing that made the twist less palatable this season. But what if they had said ahead of time, it's not a twist. This is what we're going to do at the Final Four. You get to pick one person, and the other two are going to have to earn their spot in the final three. What if, because I like that whole approach. So if they had done that ahead of time, then would y'all like it more? If you don't like it now, open to anyone?
It's hard in that, obviously, whenever they bring in a twist, it's about production, sort of establishing some sort of control, but then the players end up adapting to it. And so the end result is going to be that, whether it's you're worried about people who can make fire or, players like Ben need to go a lot earlier, people like him targeted at 8 and 7, because if you're worried about a production favorite, a guy who is finding idols, and then you're not going to have a chance to get him out at 4, which has always been that place where idols are done.
Right.
And you have a shot to take them out, and they have to win their way in. With that not there, you have to push that agenda up, and players will adapt to it. This next season, it's in play, and Probe says it's going to still be around in future seasons. Players will just have to shift their strategy. It's just how it works. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest fan of them springing it on them. You have to adapt to what's thrown at you, but there was nothing they could do at that point. I can only imagine that there is a confessional where they just couldn't use it because Chrissy just let out a endless stream of profanity. Like, this is not an advantage. What are you doing to me?
The advantage is the
trying
knowledge.
to get rid of Ben, and you took that away from me.
True. And if I had known about it earlier, I could have. So if they had not done it as a twist and instead introduced it at the beginning of the game or halfway through the game, then do we like it?
See, this is why another reason why this podcast is ending. I can't believe he just said that he liked that twist at the end of the game.
Who's he?
You.
Oh.
You started this segment. I liked the twist, and I just threw up a little bit like I did last night in my throat because that made me sick to my stomach when they brought that out. I was hoping Chrissy would say, I'm just going to deny this advantage and not play it, and we'll just go for the vote, which never happened. Of course, Devin left the game without even being voted out, and it hurt to without even being voted out. Go into that. Somebody's going on speaker, but it hurt. I don't understand because it was brought in because they're tired of the good players going out at number 4. So what does that say to all the winners of the past 15 to 20 seasons that won? But it made me sick because of how the last couple of weeks have gone with these idols showing up when he's not being followed, because these people followed him, but Ben had more adrenaline than them because Ben was dead man walking. So, and if he's got nothing to lose, he's got to walk 24/7. And they had probably just run out of gas, and they made a point to show us how they quit following him, how they just didn't think he'd find one. We kept seeing that over and over and over again, which they did follow him. We finally heard Mike say, we've been looking everywhere. But how all these idols only showed up when he wasn't being followed. But then to have this, you know what? You were going to get voted out tonight, but we're going to give you one more shot because we're tired of good players going out at number 4. It was horrible. Now, introducing it earlier on, I'd be a little bit more interested to see how it plays out. Like you said, halfway through the game is fine. At the merge is a good time to do it because you still got time to work it. But I mean, the whole Final Tribal was all about relationships. Chrissy and Ryan were talking about relationships. That all went out the window at Final Four.
Yeah,
it was down to pick somebody, and then good luck to the rest of you.
Well, and that's why my initial thought was it was spoiled by Ben by appearing like CBS was pushing Ben on us, right? That's why it was spoiled because I think it's a good twist, aka not a twist. I think it's a good change in the game, just like the new format for Tribal Council, for the final Tribal Council is good for the game. And yet it was sprung on them as well. That doesn't make it a bad part of the game. It just they approached it wrongly, or that's what I think.
I think my main problem with this whole rule change is that since the beginning of time, the whole point of this game is go to Tribal Council, don't get voted out. That's what it is. So now what they're saying is that every season there's going to be somebody who at the end is going to leave the game without being voted out. And that is a fundamental difference of the game.
No,
and on top of it all, let's just suppose for a minute that Ben had won immunity. So he gets this whole thing.
Well,
so
maybe
he
not.
Probably takes Ryan with him, and then it's between Chrissy and Devin. And so and what if Devin gets in? Then suddenly, if Devin wins the fire making contest, suddenly Devin probably wins the $1 million instead of. In some ways, it was better to lose that challenge for Ben, whereas it just opens up a whole bunch of things I just don't like.
Right.
Well, and just to add on what you were saying, Steve, for of all places for there not to be a vote at Final Four, like someone has to leave the game based on a fire challenge, which they didn't necessarily sign up for. That someone threw them into that dynamic, and to not get voted out that one step away. It's just brutal.
Yeah.
I actually feel bad for. I've been a Ben fan for this whole season. I like him. I'm glad that he has the $1 million. I really am. I would have much rather him won the $1 million by not putting that U upside down.
Yes.
Winning that challenge
and something we can't hear him.
Oops.
Well,
he made a good point, though, because Ben is a super likable guy and a very easy person to root for. And Steve, we'll let you finish that in a second. But yeah, I had no problem with Ben winning. He was the right person. I'm a believer that the right person wins. Yeah. Those are the votes at the time. No matter what they say about their votes now, the right person wins. And he was the right person to win. He fought and played 24/7. And that's how you do it. I just didn't like the way he was allowed to stay in the game at the end.
Yeah, I don't blame Ben at all. I think he's a great winner. I enjoyed watching him play. And I don't blame anybody for becoming the player that production wants to help. Like, that's part of the game, is to be someone who is relentless. And I'm going to differ with you a little bit in that I do blame Chrissy and Ryan and Mike. Like, if you know this game as well as supposedly they do as superfans collectively, that you never let Ben go anywhere without a babysitter. You go in shifts. You have to assume he's found 2 idols. They're going to replant it. He's going to find it. We have to make sure that doesn't happen. And so you never sleep. You have to watch him, because eventually they're going to sit Ben down at the place where that they've pulled him away for confessionals before, and he's going to miraculously look down and say, "Oh, it's been here all along." Like, as soon as he's got time and a moment, he's going to end up with an idol in his hands. You have to babysit. But again, Ben played the game that was put in front of him, and he deserved to win.
And I see we brought up the whole babysitting thing with Cass last week, and she was like, "Look, y'all just don't understand. When you're out there, it's impossible to stay with somebody the entire time." I mean, she said he was up. I mean, like, oh gosh, what's his face? Yeah, Tony was like up all night long. The guy never slept, is what she said. So I agree with you, but I haven't been out there.
Yeah, no, obviously it's the reality of the dynamics out there, and the fatigue is real and the hunger is real. But when you have 3 of you,
that's
and it's
true.
The difference between, he's going to get the $1 million if he gets to the end. In your heart of hearts, you know this. Then what else are you saving it for?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because then it's, look, you have an 8-hour job. Go do it.
Yeah.
It'd be the easiest $1 million 8-hour job you've ever done.
Yeah, what is that per hour? That's pretty good pay.
I even wrote, and I only have one more initial thought, but it flows right into this, is just because someone survives a barrage of firepower on his game, much like Skywalker, doesn't mean that he played the best game, right? Just because you get it all there at the end doesn't mean that you earn the win, I guess I should say. He did play a good game, but I think Chrissy played the best game.
What I was saying before, I don't know how much of what I said before got cut off, but I was a Ben fan from the beginning, and I wanted him to win this game, and I would have loved for him to win this game by not putting the U upside down, and by winning that challenge, us going forward like we normally do, voting out whoever gets voted out then, and him win. Because I feel bad for him that this is going to be an asterisk type of win for him. Because I don't think he deserves that. And I thought Chrissy played a good game too. I think that the people who she really pissed off ended up being pre-jury. So she had a good chance against the right people, but with Ben in, it just wasn't going to work. So I think Devin might have still beaten her in the end. I don't know. So
yeah, that's the interesting debate now, is would Devin have beaten her as well? And yeah, I mean, Chrissy played a good game, and obviously, when you are under fire, when you have to use multiple idols to get to the end, something's gone a bit haywire in your social game. He turned on multiple alliances, but I don't know. I don't know that I think Chrissy played a better game than he did. It was an interesting end game because it was just different. what she had done. And what Devin had done was different. Like, put those three at the end and have them articulate their arguments.
Right.
I mean, Devin, I was targeting him as a potential winner for the last few weeks, as I'm sure a lot of people were. And he's had some nice, subtle gameplay, that guy. Really surprising for someone so young, but sharp kid.
Yeah. I like what Gwen wrote in our chat room. Production. Hey, Ben, come sleep over by the raft tonight. Not on that side, the other side. Oh, you need the camera light to see the arrow? Here you go.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was talking to a survivor today that said, I don't know how he saw that in the dark, because it is pitch black dark out there. And they were actually going to talk to somebody from the season to see how much light there was out there. But they said that just amazed me that he was finding stuff in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't like to be like, well, when I was on reality TV, blah, 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 but I'm going to do it. So, the interesting thing was I figured out pretty quickly, when I was doing that Discovery show, the Darkness show, that I could sort of figure out where my path was based on the position of where I could sense the camera people to be.
Yeah.
I could tell if they were crouching. And I was left alone a lot of the time. But when they were there, I knew something was going on. And when they were there and they were crouching down, I thought, okay, I'm going to have a tunnel that they're going to make me go through. So you do start reading your camera people very early. I mean, that was after 8 hours, I started to sense my camera people's movements. Imagine after 39 days.
Oh, yeah. Every survivor we ever talk to says you can, the cameramen unintentionally give away a lot of things.
Yep.
So, well, opening night at camp. So they got, basically we'll kind of walk through the show, but anytime we get on a rabbit trail, we'll just follow it till it ends. But what does Ben do immediately when they get back? He walks off to find an idol, and they don't think there is one out there, so they just say, we'll just let him go. Not a problem. So
that was frustrating. I mean, how many times does he have to find an idol? Because and Mark Percy wrote out a long thing on our Facebook group about another way to use this twist. And one thing brought up, and I'm not sure if it was him or Mike that said it, but let a tribal council go by without an idol, instead of just putting them out time after time after time after time. And like you said earlier, these guys are Survivor super fans. How do they not know that an idol is going to be back in play?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, they needed to have just healthy paranoia. Like, just assume that there's going to be one and plan for the worst case scenario, right?
Right.
And just as an added point, this idea that idols are always replanted, at 7, at 6, at 5, at some point, like, that wasn't what they did.
Mm-mm.
But now we fully expect it. And when you get to a point where the viewing audience is not only expecting them to replant them, but the players are giving confessionals talking about how they're expecting it to happen, like Ben is, the other players unwisely assume that there wasn't. I don't understand that. But at what point did we get to in Survivor where that's the game? That, of course, there's going to be another one and another one and another one. And, of course, Ben is going to find it. Like, you could go back and look at your podcast and look at what other people have written. Starting at about Final 8, people were saying, Ben's going to find a bunch of idols, right? Like, he's in trouble. So they're going to give him idols. And then that's what happens. Like, that's not a good place for a show to be with its audience, where we're just assuming that that's what's going to happen because that's the narrative that they want.
It's almost like they feel like the only thing that's going to give the show any spice of life is idols. It's like, okay, Ben said you can use idols until Final 5, so they've planted another idol, and he's right, because Survivor apparently, or CBS apparently, wants those idols in play so much that they make sure the players know that they're out there.
I think there's two things that production really wants. One, they want a tight finish, and not 10 zeros and 8 to 1s. They want a tight finish, so they want that fourth person to have a better chance to get there, because there's a lot of good people that went out at 4. And they also, number 2, they want idols in the hands of people that will cause chaos. They want people not like, sorry, Lauren, but they don't want people giving away half their idol and getting it thrown in the fire. They want people like Ben holding idols so that he can cause chaos and do Ben bombs every other week.
Yeah.
The thing that I hate to hear somebody say, yeah, a lot of good people have gone out in fourth place, because that's what we said about a lot of people going out in third place, and we got stuck with the final three. So at some point, what are we going to do? Just line up 18 people and decide who has the best backstory and give them $1 million? Or
really?
Are we going to have them play the game?
Yeah.
And, I think... I think the worst thing to happen to the show in recent memory that we didn't realize was the worst thing when it happened was in Cambodia with that tribal council where Jeremy plays his idol and Kelly plays her idol, and now there's no votes for anybody. And I was there in the audience that night when during that finale, and Jeff Probst was just giddy. He was bouncing around on stage like crazy, and then I think something happened because he was so into that now suddenly it's like, let's see if we can have 900 idols and see if Suri goes home without a vote. Right. It's like now that thing happened with Jeremy back in season 31, and now we're trying to up the ante and we're on season 35. I'm scared to see what happens in season 40. Because I can't emphasize how giddy Jeff Probst was about that final 6 back in season 31.
Well, then he's going to love next season. The whole thing is going to be twists and idols, and that. That's going to be the whole theme. Go ahead, Andy.
I think that. And this, Steve. Like, TV is notoriously risk averse, and I think they do believe that the game, if you let it unfold naturally, often it'll end up being dramatic and awesome and wonderful as it was in the early seasons. But I think they just want to hedge their bets. And every single twist that they've added over the years, Final 3, as you pointed out, this latest twist, Redemption Island, it is about sort of letting them shape the end game. It's still an open question. Did this Final 4 twist, was it going to be there no matter what? Or did they invoke it because they had a player in a situation where they wanted to give him a shot to get to the end? If it was really boring players who were, it wouldn't be all that interesting to have them do a fire challenge, would they not have put that into place? But this idea that, that they iterate the game, they think about the players who were there and the twists and the advantages and whatnot. It's like, okay, we need some pre-merge drama, so we're going to have these one-shot advantages, and post-merge, where are we going to put the idols in, or what advantages are we going to have in place so that in this 3-episode arc we can have some spike, and our end game, these are the things that we want to have. And they're going to put things into place to control it because they don't want to have something that spirals out of control and is terrible. They're risk averse. They're going to want to make sure that they have drama, something to put out there.
So I have
frankly, they have every right to do that after 35 seasons. I'm sure, like you said, Probst was excited because it's something new and it's something fresh for them. And they think they know better because they've been doing it this long. And it's not so much, I've said a long time, that they don't trust the game. I think they do. I've sort of reconsidered that. I just think that they feel like they need to control it a little more than the people at home might like.
And let me just say, in everybody's defense, that if, a lot of people like to pile on Jeff Probst, a lot of people like to pile on, production and everything. And I get that. But the truth of the matter is, when we're talking about a show that's still on after literally 30, we're about to go into season 36, we would, if they hadn't started doing twists and things like that, this was an 8-season show. And, so I kind of feel like at this point, everything we're getting is bonus because there's no reason why this show should still be on the air.
That's fair.
But, they've started doing these twists, and now I think they've gone a little bit too far. But, I have to say, this is a show that we have all loved since we were young men, and none of us are young men anymore.
I agree that, these things are added on, but to me, a good twist that was added was a tribal swap. something that is a random effect to all the players, not necessarily you know what, we're losing some good people at 3. We need to go to final. Now we're losing some good people at 4. Like you said, where is it going to stop? You know, the final 5, just do all alliances go null and void at final 5? And I tell you what they're going to do. They're going to take all 5 people and send them all into a private voting booth and say, only 2 of you can vote for the person to be removed. If 3 of you vote for them, they're immune and they can't go anywhere. So you can't talk to each other, but you all got to vote differently now to figure out a way to get somebody out of this game. I mean, what's it going to come to? I mean, I like the early stuff and the merge stuff. It just like Dwaine was saying, it came out of nowhere, and it wasn't an advantage. If I'm Chrissy, I'm saying I'm going to pass this back to you because I don't want to play this advantage.
But I also see Steve's point because it reminds me of the modern church, and I'm not trying to get religious here, but I just want music in the church. There's always been this whole quote unquote battle of, well, we like the old things, we don't want to try new things, and Survivor's trying new things. And people like the old things, and so Steve makes a good point. If they hadn't done many of the twists and changes that they had done, the show would have been over several years ago. So,
I do think.
Go ahead,
Steve.
No, I just remember when they announced, our next season is Beauty versus Braun. I was like, "Are you what? That is the dumbest thing." Now it just seems quaint in retrospect, but I mean. We hated a lot. I hated the final 3. I hated the hidden immunity idols. I hated these things, and then they become part of the game.
Right.
So, we'll get used to pretty much anything they throw at us.
Yes, we will. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for me, a part of it is simply the only reason why they introduce a twist is because they believe there's a problem that needs to be solved, and so. Things become too predictable, so you have tribe swaps. You want to add elements of instability, so you have immunity idols. And having a final 3, they're solving a problem of, certain dynamics of having a dud final 2, and certain players they liked, being someone that they wanted to see have a chance to make their argument. But like you said, it's like, okay, what problem were they solving with this one? Oh, there were people coming in 4th that they wanted to give them a shot. But really, they're extending the window all the way out to 7. If you're going to hand them 3 idols and do this thing, like you're providing a very big swath of the post-merge game that is open to an aggressive player like that. But like you said, players will adapt and will just grow to understand that's just how the game is now. But this is just one problem I didn't think they had to solve. I think they had to solve those other problems, but this one didn't feel like, okay, why do you have to, create this dynamic at 4? What problem is it solving?
So I want to, before we get to the reward. Oh, go ahead, David.
Well, I wanted to read Gwen's question that she just posted.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that or not. She said, what would you guys think if they had a final 2, went back to the final 2, and they had the fire challenge at the final 3? So whoever won immunity is automatically in. Whoever lost, the other 2 had to do the fire challenge instead of the immune person voting. So winning immunity only gets you in the final 3. It doesn't give you the chance to choose who goes with you.
Well, I actually like that.
But Steve, doesn't it give you the same problem that you had before? The person who's out wasn't voted out.
See, again, this is one of those things, like when you see those pictures of the women who put all those things on their neck and then their neck gets really long and because they get used to it. I've gotten used to a lot with Survivor. So, now that this whole final 4 debacle is actually a thing, if somebody gives me a final 3 thing that makes a little bit more sense, I'm like, oh gosh, I love that.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
If she had proposed that before yesterday, I would have told her she was crazy and to buzz off.
Right.
But,
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the Chrissy approaching Ben. This is day 37. This is before the immunity reward. And asking, to me, this was a very humorous moment. Would you consider taking me to the final 3 and, the final 3 being the best players? And he's like, are you going to vote for me then? Are you going to keep me in the game? And she's kind of like loss of words.
Like, good point. No,
that was one of those great moments. I just thought it was wonderful. So
that's a great moment to sort of jump in and say, I have adored surprisingly perhaps, so much of the editing this season, I think they've actually done a really nice job. There were a couple episodes in there that were weird and butchered a bit, but for the most part, there's been a lot of misdirection, but a lot of good storytelling. And the ongoing Chrissy trying something and then confessional where Ben's like, she thinks she's doing something, but come on, you're kidding me, was really well done, where it's just, that we can see through it. And it's really nice to see that Ben is seeing through it the entire time. Yeah. Endlessly amusing. And you got to give her props, as Ben did, for trying. But I mean, it's, there's a subtle art to jury management that is not it.
Right. By the way,
not a people person.
We got that a lot with Chrissy, because we got it with Lauren too, when she tried to talk to Lauren when she realized she was on the outs.
Yeah. Yep. And you mentioned editing, and that kind of reminds me, as soon as they showed Devin making a fire on like day 37, I thought, okay, well, he's obviously going to be having to build a fire for some reason, because since when do they show us people making fires on day 37?
Yeah, well, and what's fascinating about that is that if you go back and look, there's all these little things of like, Devin, building a fire, and even Ben getting up early in the morning and building a fire. So that was foreshadowed. Yeah. And you get a lot of Devin. So you're thinking Devin's going to be in a fire challenge, maybe win a fire challenge because he's so good at it. But then he has that moment where it's like, I'm going to take a break because the flint broke. Right. And so that's like the show was going out of its way to show people's fatal mistakes and fatal flaws. Yeah. I don't know. It was good storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, when I realized it's going to be Ben versus Devin for a fire making challenge, I'm thinking, oh, okay. So we're going to have the surfer guy versus the Marine. I wonder who's going to win this one. I mean, and I know that the editing believe me, Devin could probably granted, I'm pretty good with Flint, but he could probably do better than me with Flint. But once I realized it was going to be him versus Ben, I thought, well, we kind of know what's happening.
Yeah. All right, so let's
Ben was getting the winner at that point.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
So let's get to the first immunity/reward challenge. And gosh, I hate to be negative, but in fact, I'm not going to be negative. But of course, it was another puzzle, right? And in fact, this whole, Chrissy won 4 immunity challenges. 3 of them were puzzles, and she's really good at puzzles, right? So, I know she won 4. 3 of them.
Well, that was production skewing it in her favor.
Oh, right. So, but anyway, what I wrote is we always talk about the puzzle being the great equalizer, but it's really not if someone rocks puzzles, which in the same way, a very athletic challenge. I mean, let's be okay with those too, because yes, they do favor people who are more athletic, but puzzles favor people who are smarter with puzzles. So every challenge is going to favor somebody.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this in the past, but this idea that how they target these alpha males right after the merge, like the big athletes, and but really, the post-merge challenges tend to favor people with good balance, people with good endurance, and people who are good at puzzles. So when you get these, 4 challenge runs, it's not the same as it was in some of the early seasons where they were really beaten down and doing some crazy physical stuff. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I miss like those final 4 or final 5 challenges where it's like a 6-station spider web thing with lots of things to do. So there's like mini puzzle elements to it, but it's also significantly physical.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me. I'm going to defend Chrissy and this one and everything. Okay. I get what you're saying. However, let's go way back to. Oh shoot! Am I gone?
No,
you're
okay. Okay, I don't know. So let's go way back to season 1, and Kelly Wigglesworth wins a bunch of different types of immunities. But who's she winning against? A 72-year-old man, Susan Hawk, Richard Hatch, Doctor, whatever his name is, Sean. She wasn't beating the best of the best.
True.
Now, when we're talking about Chrissy, she's beating people like Ben. She's beating people like Devin. So, look, the competition has gotten stronger because the applicant pool has gotten stronger, and they go for athletes a lot more than they used to in the early seasons. So, Chrissy won against stiffer competition than other people have. Back to Jenna Marasco, who won in Amazon. Rob Sesternino. I mean, she wasn't winning against A-level athletes. I'm sorry, Chrissy Smith and Butch and everything. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anything away from her 4 wins because those were 4 fair and square wins.
Sure.
Right.
And a good point. And before, I don't want, like you, Dwaine, I don't want to be negative. Like, I admire the game that Chrissy played.
Oh, absolutely.
And, she her spot. Go ahead.
I don't think you have to defend Chrissy at all, but if one of those challenges ends in skeet ball, I don't think she wins.
Yeah, but like Steve says, you still, I mean, she earned it. She earned
Absolutely.
4. So regardless, props to her, Yeah,
because in most of the challenges, she wasn't the first to the puzzle. So the puzzle was a good equalizer for her.
Right.
I like balanced challenges, and the balance as in part physical, part mental. I love those challenges because I think those are more fair, gives more people a chance to win.
Right.
But yeah, she dominated. She earned every one of those challenge wins. I was pulling for her. I was hoping she'd have won.
And can I just give props to the jury for once not raking the mom over the coals in the final tribal council.
Right.
I had a conversation with Cass over the past week after listening to her on your episode last week, and we were both worried that was the fate that Chrissy would ultimately face. And they gave her props for her game, and as they should have. And she didn't get the Dawn Meehan treatment that I was worried that she would get. It was really refreshing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about surprising. Mike surprises me. First, he does 2 really good things. First of all, he gets to the reward and says, okay, guys, let's look for a clue or let's look for an idol, right? Very smart thing to do. But he actually comes up with a pretty darn good plan for a fake idol. Don't you think? Or am I totally off base here?
I mean, it would have been a great plan if Ben didn't already have one.
Well,
sure.
I know, but I mean, that's easy to say, hindsight, but it was a great plan, them not knowing.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the searching for clues and whatnot, I think they do that every time. They just did it this time because it led to the larger conversation and it made Ben look smarter.
Okay.
But I do think it's smart. It's like, okay, let's hatch a plan. What should we do with your fake idol? Because like you said, Dwaine, it's not fair to look at results oriented because they had no reason or they had no knowledge that Ben had an idol. So it's a smart plan to try to mislead him. It's worked in the past where they've tried to convince people that an idol is found so you don't need to search.
Right.
What I didn't like was the redundant editing of them looking like fools and Ben being the only smart one on the island. Because it seemed like the last couple of episodes, that's all we were getting. Because I agree, it was a great plan. And then she came off, there's no point in searching, save your energy because I've already got the idol. And then Ben fans are just laughing at her. Because
I would have done it differently. If I were Chrissy, I wouldn't have allowed myself to be the one who says, who pulls it out while lying in the shelter and being like, look what I got, because you just kind of look smarmy and smug and at the beginning. Yeah. I would have given it to somebody else and been like, hey, you do it. Go for it.
Exactly.
And Mike would have done it. He would have been happy to.
Oh yeah. Because then he could have thrown it in the fire.
It would have been historic. It would have been, a memorable move. I still don't. I would love to live in the universe that Mike has in his head, where he played a great game and was clearly going to win if he had gotten to the final 3, because it's a very happy place for Mike.
Well, she didn't give it to him because he was going to throw it in the fire. So she wanted to keep it.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Ben does a good job, though. Ben, one thing that I almost forgot about was how well he acted when he was acting like he was with Chrissy and them, and how well he acted. And he did it again here with her showing him the fake immunity idol, and he played it off really well, I thought.
Yep.
So good for him. Good for him. All right. Let's see what else we got to talk about here.
Well, his shock was real, as in, you people really think I'm going to fall for that?
That's right. That's right. It was just for something different than we thought it would be. So that's right.
But you're right. He couldn't wait to get to a camera and start laughing.
Right. Okay, so now Devin, after he starts to suspect, or at least thinks it's a possibility, really made a potential $1 million decision that if we hadn't had the twist, very well could have won him the game. Voting for Mike. You know, him taking that chance. It wasn't even a chance. Him just realizing, you know what? There's a chance. So I'm going to vote for Mike. Was a very smart thing to do and would have been a tremendous thing to be able to talk about at Final Tribal. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Lots
it's
of nods.
interesting. It was interesting to hear Mike say that he had told Ryan that he was going to vote for Devin, do the same thing, but ultimately didn't do it. But yeah, no, when your back's against the wall, and I think Devin probably picked up on the stuff that we're talking about, that if this guy keeps finding idols, there's a very good chance he's going to find another one, because we didn't find it. So, but yeah, no, that's a sign. I mean, again, Devin, came across as a surfer bro early in the game by design, but he's a sharp kid.
Yeah, we were told often how much he knew and how he was going to come across as that. I think he was probably the most underrated player out there. I think he had so many signs of survivor smarts that he just didn't get credit for. And which is why I think he would have had a great resume at the end if he'd have made it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Just being able to point to the whole Ben should be a spy thing, and that builds on what you're saying, Steve. Like, you don't want to be the one doing the bad thing, whether it's putting the idol around your neck or the fake one, or being the one who is the spy. You want to be the one who came up with the plan and let the other guy be the one that burns all the bridges.
Yeah.
And it was a smart and effective plan.
I also liked Mike pulling a Dan Aykroyd on the beach.
Reminiscent of, you probably remember this one, Steve, Christina Cha. I think it was in like the final 4 or 5, just where you knew she didn't stand a chance in winning. She's just walking behind someone who's doing something in the foreground and just trips over something, and they give that sort of dodo music, like ding.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, at that point you're not winning.
Yeah, she was a 4th place, and they weren't worried about having the extra fire challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is there's not a whole lot left in the episode to talk through, because I'm sitting here looking at my notes for the rest of the show. We have a short tribal council here. We have a back at camp final 4, a final immunity, and then basically day 39. So
I love the final immunity challenge.
Right.
I thought that was incredible.
So let's just buzz through this tribal council. Okay, so Mike's gone. Anything else? I mean, back at camp, final 4. Ben's like, I have no more Ben bombs. I must win final immunity. And production goes, nah, we don't want you to have to do that. We'll go ahead and figure something else out.
I mean, imagine it's like, don't sweat it, Ben. Don't worry.
But Chrissy is so upset. It's like Chrissy's standing over there going, you know what? He is a thorn in my flesh. I cannot get rid of that boy. She was frustrated.
Well, again, props to editing, where they had those conversations after Ben had lost the challenge, where Ryan and Chrissy are just sitting there saying, yeah, one of us is going to win $1 million, but not Ben. Like, I feel bad for him as a person.
Yeah.
Just a complete misdirect, which, it was heavy enough where you're like, that's actually kind of mean, including that.
Yeah.
But obviously that's, they were okay in doing that because they knew that if you would end up with $1 million.
Right.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I was spoiled of what the twist was going to be. And if I hadn't been spoiled, because, I was I had even forgotten some of that until he mentioned the twist. But I was sure that Ben was just going to win the final immunity challenge. I mean, it looked like he was winning it. I thought, okay, I see where this is going. And I do like it when I think I'm going in one direction and the show, yanks me into another. I just didn't like this particular direction that they yanked me into. So,
yeah. Although I will give them, again, credit. I don't think it was really a coronation edit like the types that we've seen before. Like his closest comp would be someone like Mike Holloway. And I think we all knew Mike was winning a lot sooner than Ben. I think that might be, an outcropping of, I think a lot of time was spent developing a lot of these characters over the course of the season, in part because I think they need to develop some more characters to exploit in future returnee seasons because they burned through so many of them. But, in the end, the result was, it was surprising. Like as much as it, sort of, I think, dawned on everybody that this is this is Ben's game to win, it was still a pretty riveting finale for me. Yeah. Because I was like, is this really happening right now? And I'm sorry, that upside down was just, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord, would he have just regretted that for the rest of his life?
I know. I mean, again, a great final challenge, right, David? Mm-hmm. That was your cue to talk more.
No, I'm with Andy. This was, to me, the finale was about, can Ben make it? Because because he's going to win if he gets to the end, no matter who he's sitting with. It seems like he's going to win because Fishback wrote a good point about how Chrissy had won the immunity idol so much, and they saw her wearing it at the jury. But at the same time, the drama comes from the Ben bombs and Ben pulling out all these idols. Her sitting there with a immunity necklace is one thing, but he keeps saving himself. And Joe has said it like 150 times. How is he still in the game? How are they letting Ben stay in the game? And it was at that point, and it was like, well, this is Ben's to lose. So the finale was good in the sense that how does Ben stay in the game, and can he stay in the game? Because I'm like Steve, I knew he was going to win a challenge sooner or later. I just have to win the challenge. Well, that means the person's going to win the challenge. But he just couldn't pull out these challenges. And I just said, wow, he's going to be done. Now we'll really get to see if it's Devin or Chrissy. Oh, wait. No, he's still got a chance to stay in the game. So, I don't know.
Whoa, bomb in the chat room.
Yeah.
Mike K says, it doesn't bother me, although it should, but some are upset that one of Chrissy's S's was upside down when she won. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. That's crazy if that's true. Wow. Cindy Wigglesworth says it really was. I mean, that's crazy because that's why Ben lost, was because of his stupid U.
Yeah, you wonder if it's like once Probst calls it, if they can actually, they can't take it back at that point, I guess.
I'm totally laughing at Patricia Renshaw writing, it's true, it's on Twitter.
Yeah. Mike K says,
I totally do get her point. I just chuckled when I saw it. I love you, Patricia.
Mike K says it was the last S in Heroes. Wow. No, Mike, S's are not the same either way. Well, sometimes they are, but not in this case. If it's obvious that there's an upside down, that there's a top and a bottom to an S, then I think it does matter.
Then what do we do? Do we just redo the season? That would work.
You can't. We didn't redo a presidential election. We're not going to redo a season of Survivor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where they raced over to Ben in production and whispered in his ear, "Don't worry about it, dude. We know it's upside down, but we got the twist for you. Don't worry."
Man, that surprises me. I mean, because production's out there, they could have easily said, "Okay, wait. Everybody just start over." Oh well. All right, well, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to going and seeing that. But back to the challenge. What a great challenge. Number one, you got to get those blocks to balance on the blocks that are smaller, all right? So the platform is not as wide as the block, which makes it more difficult. You have to keep everything balanced with your hand on the rod while you're doing all of this, and then walk back. And who's to say that locking it in place isn't going to bump it enough to knock all the stuff off? Great challenge. I bet it lasted at least an hour. I don't know, but so
I can only imagine that, Dream Team had to play that with that thing forever, to get sort of the tension right and to get it so that it has that right balance of challenge and you can actually get it done. Yeah. And it's a pretty elaborate build too. And, when you start helping with the production side of Survival Challenge, like these are the things that you notice and it's like, we could never build that. Look at that thing. That's crazy. Yeah. But it's so incredibly cool because it's just about focus, endurance. Like you said, if it's going for even more than 20 minutes, like you are fatigued.
Yeah.
Like given how much that thing must have weighed,
right?
You have to be able to control it.
And less concentration, the less able you are to concentrate. Much less keep your hands sturdy and steady. Yeah,
and you're sweating buckets.
Oh yeah, so your hands are sweaty, which makes it even harder. I doubt they had anti-sweat, stuff on the pole.
Props to Kierhopper. Like he's got to keep thinking up things where it's like endurance, but not, the 16-hour endurance that Probst doesn't want to have anymore.
They had several new challenges this year, including the put your hands in a bag and see if you match rocks. But
which was riveting.
Yeah. But seriously, they had several new challenges this year.
My working theory on that one is that they were doing confessionals and they found out that too many of them didn't want to win the loved ones challenge because they didn't want to deny love to other people and shatter their games at that point.
Yeah.
And so too many people weren't going to compete. And so it's like, well, you will. You're just going to pull rocks out of the bag.
Well, Kelly Wentworth on our show said she's convinced somebody in production was just drunk and just couldn't, was just too late to set it up.
I assumed that they had some other challenge going and it just didn't work with the Dream Team. And so they're like, fine, just we'll flip a coin.
Yeah. Or one of the family didn't pass medical to do the challenge.
That could be. I hadn't thought about that one. That's a possibility.
Yeah. So anyway, this was a great final immunity, and Chrissy wins. And of course, they do a CBS production thing where they show Ben devastated and Chrissy elated.
And that was great TV. You got to admit that.
It really was.
Yeah.
I thought it was fascinating. So.
Yeah.
I thought they might say, do you just want to have tribal council right now? And be done with it.
No.
It sure would have given us more time for the reunion because I don't think there was a reunion last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have one.
So at that tribal council, Ben, as far as Ben's concerned, he's going home. I mean, there's no hope for him at all. And then all of a sudden, she reads her advantage, which, the way they read it, the way it's worded, her advantage is not getting to pick someone. Her advantage is the information. That's the advantage. But whenever she reads her advantage, you can just see Ben going, oh my gosh, I have hope in this game. I have hope, So, and then Devin says, may the best man win. And I thought, may the best fire maker win.
Now, she wasn't at Devin's tribal, but what a great line it would have been to say, that's not really an advantage. Because it puts him back in. That was the best line of the whole season to me.
Yeah.
That's not an advantage.
Right. And Probst went, no, you had the information and no one else did. That's an advantage.
Well, you guys keep talking amongst yourselves. I'm going to go look for an idol. Be right back.
Okay. He's going to go look for an idol.
Surely he won't find another idol.
Yeah, he probably will.
Nah, we don't need to bother.
You remember what you were going to say? Because sometimes
I just totally lost my train of thought.
That happens to me. You know what? It happened to me whenever Kelly Wentworth was on the show, and I started talking and trying to hope I would think of something in the middle of the sentence, and I didn't. So I just finally said, I have no idea what I'm saying.
That's when I start getting text, David.
David, please, David, I need your help.
For me.
And David just sits there going, I ain't helping you.
But we talked about, a minute ago, y'all mentioned the second chance season or returnee seasons. It's funny because Probst mentioned more than once that this season took a little time to get going. Had some roller coaster up and downs, but there was a lot of people I liked in this season. And that's, to me, what was the draw for me. Even though there were some low moments, were some great episodes, and all of a sudden, like you said, some weird episodes that just kind of happened. But there was a lot of personalities in this series that I liked, and I think that's why I kept liking the season, even though people were saying this was not a great season. But I still enjoyed it because there's so many people I was interested to find out what was going to happen.
Well, and I think they took the time to develop them for us. People were on journeys. I think you can point to just about everybody after the first few boots and say, I have a strong sense of who they are. And, they were casting niches, and, some players probably didn't have a great chance of really putting together a resume, but they were interesting. They were good examples of the various prototypical Survivor players, and they had stories to tell. I mean, I think, I look down the list. I tend to, when I'm writing the column, make a list of who I think might come back, and the list is pretty long this year.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's name some. So Joe is a possibility.
Yes.
Chrissy
absolutely.
is absolutely a possibility. Who else?
Yep. I think, Ben is as a winner, will always be in conversations like that. But I think a guy like Devin, I think the show always has a soft spot for players that they kind of screwed. And Devin handled it with such grace. And I think they can envision someone like Devin being an interesting part of an alliance in a returnee season. And he's easy on the eyes for the ladies, and he's athletic, and he knows what he's doing. And it'll be interesting to see someone like Devin come back where everyone's going to know he actually knows what he's doing.
Right.
Is there enough besides him and Jessica Lewis that can come back and be on the tribe that never got voted out?
Oh, that's interesting. That those players, in my mind, deserve a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, in how they handled it, Jessica too, handling it with grace.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
I would love to see Lauren get a second shot to see what she would do differently.
Yeah. She's on that list of, potential, she was an interesting character, and played surprisingly well, given her casting niche is not really known for that. I mean, there's Twyla, who's outstanding. But other than that, they tend to be cannon fodder. And I think we were all expecting her to probably leave early in those first couple of boots.
Right. Yep. Boy, she got us all rooting for her until she had to start doing some strategy, and then she kind of fell apart.
Well, I think it just came down to, and I think I wrote it in last week, she became a victim of her own personality. She didn't like all the attention.
Yeah.
And if she had been able to hide a little while longer, she might have been, part of this Final Four awesome twist.
Yes.
But I think Ryan is another one who might be in the mix in a returnee season.
Yeah.
Put on some more meat first, and then.
Oh, good Lord, man! It's so hard to watch.
That was scary. That was scary weird to watch the little heart go. Doop, 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 doop. Yeah, you don't need no heart monitor on him. Just watch him.
That would have been nice to have a video podcast that night because Dwaine was about to throw up.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
But then you have other people who, someone like Allie, who was really interesting, but might end up being another Alexis, somebody who was good pre-merge and you had a lot of promise, but we'll never see again. But her name might get kicked around by the producers at some point. Someone like Desi, who's really sort of strong physically, and she might have learned from the first time out. Maybe she would be in the mix, but she's sort of far down that list. But I think they put together a pretty good list of people that we might see again. Again, they burned through so many in recent returnee seasons. There aren't a lot out there that would spike interest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny. I think that they need to realize that I don't think that returnees spike interest like they think they do. I mean, we can look at the ratings from season 34 and know that no, it's, for whatever reason, I know that Jeff likes to think everybody wants to see Ozzy again. Well, no, not really, because it didn't make any difference with the numbers. So what they need to do is put together a compelling cast. And sometimes they manage to do that with returnees, and sometimes they manage to do it with new people. And just, if they could focus on a stellar, an interesting cast rather than at all thinking that, gee, if we put Rupert on for the 9th time, maybe, 50 more people will watch. I think that they're really missing the mark at this point. So.
Well, and especially when they go out of their way to assemble an interesting cast like this one, they get a good show. I do wonder, though. Clearly, Probst likes the elevated gameplay, or what he sees as elevated gameplay with the returning players, where they don't do incredibly stupid things. And yet they love to show us the incredibly stupid things because they think it makes great TV. So
they're building an entire season around it, Andy.
This is true. Well, literally over under on the number of cameos and amount of footage of previous seasons next season.
It's going to be fascinating.
Sunday Burquest in our chat room says, "I don't see Ryan playing again."
Okay.
You never know.
Yeah, I mean, he's way down at the bottom of my list, but he's somebody who would perhaps be a part of a conversation just as a strategist.
I mean, that being said, they cast these people on Survivor for a reason. And sometimes we get to see a really good dimension of them, and sometimes we don't. And I'm going to pick on Sunday because she's in our chat room right now. She's a fascinating person. Yeah. I love Sunday. Didn't see much of it on CBS, and what the heck was that about? Because for whatever reason, it just didn't fit in. But, could we see Sunday on another season and her be fascinating and interesting? I think so.
Yeah, so, she gives great confessional, man. I can tell you, firsthand, she is riveting and she knows this game. But we didn't get that.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. All right, so
Dwayne, where are we at in the timeline?
Oh, we're at Final Tribal. Y'all go for it. I'm tweeting about our final episode.
Is it over? Is the episode over?
No, I'm just tweeting about how much fun I'm having. So I just thought I'd.
I know that I'm supposed to, and people seem to love it. They're like, "Oh, I like this new, let's all talk about outplaying and everything." I hate it. I hated it last season. I hate it this season. I want to go back to let me give you my reasons why I'm awesome, and then you yell at me, and I tell you to go to hell, and then you vote for me anyway, and then I win the $1 million. I mean, that's what I want to see. I really hate this whole let's all sit around this round table and discuss, because it seems forced to me.
What about the interrupting? Do you like the interrupting they get to do?
Yeah, but it's
like I just did.
I just don't find it to be as good of TV. I like the opening statements. I think I deserve $1 million because blah blah blah. We don't see that. Mm-hmm. I think I don't think that the contestants are on the hot seat like they are when somebody who you voted out is standing there in front of you and saying, why did you vote me out? Tell me why you voted for me. That's not what we're seeing now, and it's not as dramatic to me. And I and everybody on Twitter is like, "Oh, I love this." I'm like, wait. It's one of those things where I think, what am I doing wrong? Because I hate it.
You're the first person I've heard that doesn't like it.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it, and it ruins the final tribal council for me.
Now what I like the open discussion part of it, like I do in some of our podcast episodes. But what I don't like is the feeling that Probst is taken away their creativeness to ask a good question and forcing them into a funnel of a topic. You've got to discuss this topic, that because he spent 10 minutes describing each of the 3 areas when I thought we were done, but he just kept talking about these things. And I'm like, there are some smart people up here that would like to ask a good question. And I feel like he's taking that out of their hands.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked it because there's always somebody who's petty who gets up and's like, I just want an apology. which is
Yeah,
one
really.
of my favorite questions, to ask. Or my question is, I think you suck. I mean, whatever. But, I miss that, and we're not going to see that in this new format. But everybody on Twitter thinks it's fantastic. So,
well, if it's on Twitter, it must be true, though.
Something of a hybrid. Like, I would like opening statements because that gives them fodder to then talk about. Like, that kicks off the conversation. Like, go ahead and make your case, and then have people say, well, that's a stupid case, and go from there. What I don't miss, though, what I like about this dynamic is not having some of the real grandstanding where you have people who are clearly scripting something beforehand and, trying to make the moment, and they're not asking a good question. They're not moving the conversation forward. It is simply, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
the other thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no. And underlying all of that is always they know who they're voting for when they get there. None of this conversation adds up to jack. It is simply like they know who they're going to vote for. Let's have a good conversation and, create some good conversation, and maybe the dynamic where they get to interrupt one another is an interesting dynamic. But I think the producers were just acknowledging, like, this wasn't accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish. It didn't seem like a deliberation. It's just a bunch of grandstanders, and they all know who they're going to vote for. So let's try to do something different with it. I don't like, because I think like someone like Devin, I think he voted for Ryan. I think he was going to vote for Ryan the whole time. I don't think he was swayed by what Ryan said at that point.
Oh, right,
I think people felt comfortable voting for Chrissy because they knew there was enough votes for Ben. That's just how it is now.
Right.
They talk too much at the jury house. They know how it's going to go down. And so they decide, well, maybe this dynamic of us just having a conversation is more fun than grandstanding.
I guess my problem with it is that they've been having this same conversation now for the last 19 days. And so just to put it, to pick up the jury, to pick up the Ponderosa dinner table and put it there, it doesn't feel genuine to me. It feels like they've already, somebody's like, oh, I think this, and somebody else interrupts. It's like, well, it doesn't feel real to me.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm sorry. It's my thing. I just don't like it.
You are allowed to have a dissenting opinion. It is okay. However, did you find the hidden immunity idol? No? Okay, well, I'm going to go look for it. I'll be right
back.
So are we voting for him or what?
Totally. He's gone.
All right, so I guess that makes you, David, you've got to lead the conversation. So,
well, it's still a work in progress because what I didn't like last night was there were still grandstanding when Interruptus came up and they decided to cut people off because they didn't like what they were saying. But I can't get away from the fact that I've been watching for 35 seasons. And like Andy said, I think everybody's vote was pretty much locked in before we even get the final tribal. I feel like the best jury time is actually at Ponderosa when they're having their conversations about who's going to vote for who and who's leading the chat over there.
Yeah, not that they're ever going to do this, but if they really wanted that final tribal to be riveting, you would sequester every single jury member and then have them come out and ask their questions and have everybody just like, what are you asking? Like, I don't understand. What in the actual heck? Where's that coming from? And so they're not only arguing with the players making their final arguments, but with each other. Like, how can you think that? How can you believe that? They just had too much time to come to an agreement. If you, again, want a heated argument, have them have spent no time with each other.
Talk about a bitter jury. That's where you're going to get a bitter jury.
With each other. Like,
yes,
if they haven't been able to resolve anything, they'll spend more time screaming at each other.
I guess I feel like if they're going to have all this deliberation on TV, it needs to be like a real jury. And it's like, you got to come up with somebody unanimously. It just...
you think Probst, hated watching... the end of Palau, 16 hours of that. Can you imagine how mad he would get watching them try to become to a unanimous verdict?
That could be fascinating, though.
Oh, wow. Unanimous. Is that what y'all started talking about?
I'm just saying, I'm trying to find a way that I would find this whole deliberation thing interesting. And sure, come up with a unanimous one, or else we're not giving you your prize money. Now there's something I'd watch on TV.
A hung jury. We have to play the game again.
See, they keep twisting up the game and twisting up ideas. I think the jury is one of the biggest problems they need to fix, because it seems like it's already set before the game starts, and then when they get there, it's never the same each season because they can't figure out what they like and they don't like.
Well, how are you going to fix that? I don't know.
I'm not production. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Fair enough.
You want to fix something, get rid of that boring last 15 minutes we got to sit through of people talking about something they already have the decision made up on.
No, I will say this. I do believe, having spent time on the production side of things with the SC, the jury is the sort of this one last untamed wild land. Like, what can you do with that the show hasn't done? What can you do with that this would address some of these issues? Because we know it's a problem. What can you do with it? How can we make it better?
They tried one thing, and it was a disaster, where one of the people had to leave and didn't get to vote.
Yeah.
That was horrible. So it's like the Medallion of Power horrible.
No, it was worse than that.
No, it was worse than that.
Yeah.
All right. Do y'all have anything else to say before we get to our feedback? Because the feedback's going to talk about a lot of stuff and add stuff to it, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, I didn't get to ask you because you didn't ask me, but I'm going to be above you in this and ask you, what are you doing after Survivor Talk with D&D? Because I know, but I don't think anybody else does.
I'm going to not have to edit anymore. No, I'm just kidding. You mean, what am I, like the podcast that I'm going to start?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been thinking I'm going to do a
Survivor Talk with D?
Yeah. The whole thing was I was tired of David. No, I actually didn't even think about this thanks, David, for bringing it up. I hadn't even thought about it until about a week and a half ago. And then it's just all kind of, snowballed in my head. And I'm going to do a show called That's Things I Want to Talk About. So it's pretty much whatever I want to talk about, but it's going to have, it's going to be kind of half and half stories that I want to tell, and then also some devotions. So, it'll kind of hit, I don't know, some people will love all the stories and some people won't like the devotions, and some people like the devotions and not care a bit about the stories. So it's more an opportunity for me to get to talk and do that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's called Things I Want to Talk About, and I'll probably try to have 10 episodes recorded before I put it on the air, and maybe by the end of January, I don't know. But we'll see. Thanks for asking. I'm really looking forward to doing it.
Hey, before you go to feedback, I want to read Mike's comment in the chat room that he mentions the first 5 jurors all voted for Ben, the people that got to see him play idol after idol after idol. And then the last 3 jurors voted for Chrissy and Ryan.
There you go.
I didn't realize that, but that's interesting.
That was a nice segue from my podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody sit back. It's time for feedback. Our listeners have to say what's on their minds today. D&D will hear you. D&D will read you. D&D will take the time to take your lines, analyze, and feel you. It's feedback. Survivor Talk with D&D. Taking listener feedback, y'all. That's right.
Andy and Steve, feel free at any time during the feedback segment to interrupt or say whatever you want to say. In fact, it won't even be interrupting. It'll just be part of the show because we always talk about the feedback. Steve took off his headphones to cough, but didn't bother to hide his mic.
I think his beard is trying to eat his mic.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Sorry.
He's like, if I take off my headphones, they won't hear me.
It happened faster than I expected.
It's like a cat.
Or I could just turn 12 inches away and see if they don't hear it.
It's like a cat. If they don't see my eyes, they can't see the rest of my body. All right. First, we have Chrissy, and David's going to read. Oh, this is interesting. This was left during the finale. So, like, before the finale was even over, ding, ding, we have a feedback. So David's going to read this one from Chrissy.
Please, she has implants and capped teeth. Wait a minute, is it from Chrissy or about Chrissy?
It's
I
from.
don't think it's about her.
It's from Chrissy. I mean, yeah.
The posing on the 38th day looked like she was trying to model in the sweater, right? She won immunities, but her attitude sucks. Ben needs to shock her again.
Okay, now to be fair, they pose them. They don't choose how they're going to sit, right? Except for that one guy who probably chose how he wanted to sit. I don't remember his name.
Oh, you mean for the confessionals?
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
They like set them up. You know, Kelly Wentworth was telling us about that. Oh, yeah, they tell you exactly how to sit, and they want you leaned over in a certain way and all that kind of stuff.
And if you're Cochran, you get a thrown rock.
Yes. Yes. All right, next we have Will. Go ahead,
by the
Steve.
way, that actually feeds into what we were saying earlier about being able to find idols when you're in the middle of a confessional. Why are you sitting there?
Yes.
Because the cameraman asked you to sit there.
Yes. We want you to sit right there and don't mind the guy behind you or the guy behind me focusing in on a rock. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Ben, after you read those letters, we're going to leave this way. Oh, I thought that was out of bounds. No, it's not out of bounds anymore. You're going to follow us this way.
Yeah, we're going to have a confessional on the raft. All right.
And you're going to lay sideways on that side of the raft.
That's right. We want you to look down at the sand. All right, here we go. Will the Giant Ninja. What's up, guys? It's Will from Wonder Lake again. One last time, a.k.a. the Giant Ninja. It's 11:24 p.m. here in Chicagoland. The reunion show ended an hour and a half ago, but I just finished watching it.
It never started.
I have a trial tomorrow. Yeah.
Somebody tell Rourke. I'm sure she doesn't know.
Yeah, really.
Or anybody who was voted out before the merge. Anyway, go ahead.
There you go. I have a trial tomorrow, and I had to do final prep work until about 8. So I had to watch the show when I got home. And because of the trial, if I don't write my feedback now, I'll probably never get to it. And something tells me I'd regret not getting one in this week, since Andy Baker is there and some guy named Steve. I won't speak for everyone, but you know what I say, who is Steve and why do we care? Anyway.
I'm the most famous person on this podcast right now.
There you go. On the video, Steve, that Mark made for us and several survivors and several of our listeners participated in it, Will told 2 of his favorite moments, and one of his favorite moments was whenever we kept telling you what Will said, and you said, who is Will and why should I care? And he said that was one of the best moments, and that
it was a legitimate question.
I know.
I mean,
and that now he loves doing it back and forth with you, and he thinks it's great. So anyway, you have made his day. Anyway, I digress, he says. Allow me to get my frustrations out first. Hey, that's fine. We did it. I hated the twist. Hated it. Not didn't like it. Not could have lived without it. Hated it. For the same reason that so many people prefer a Final 2 to a Final 3, the purity of the game, I simply hated that someone was being gifted with a fire-making challenge. If there's a fire challenge at Final 4, it should be because someone wasn't able to politic or because somebody else was able to politic. The players should cause the challenge, not production. Yuck. No thank you. Survivor is a political game, and the more challenges and advantages and idols and twists, the less the politicking matters, and that's a shame. But I know they don't make the show for me. They make it for the casual fans who I'm sure love this. Again, yuck. Excuse me. See, I mute my mic. Okay. And why is it that Jeff Probst doesn't know what outwit, outplay, outlast means? Seriously? Outwit is the strategic element of the game. Outplay is the challenge aspect. And if you want to throw camp life into that as well, fine with me. And outlast is the social aspect of the game, getting the other players to want to keep you so that you outlast those who have been voted out. Maybe he didn't want to lay it out like that since, quote, finding hidden immunity idols, unquote, isn't anywhere to be found in there, and Ben couldn't make as strong of a case for himself. Ooh. Look, I enjoyed this season quite a bit, and I've been predicting a Ben win for 2 months now. Anybody paying attention saw this coming, but man, was I pulling for Chrissy. Chrissy deserved to win this season, not Ben. I won't say that the jury got it wrong, since they're the jury and the whole point of the game is getting them to vote for you. But I don't think I would have voted for Ben. I would have voted for Chrissy. Speaking of which, that's what's with Probst telling us there were 3 votes for Ben, 2 votes for Chrissy, 1 vote for Ryan, and 1 vote left. There were 2 votes left. Chrissy knew that. She's good with numbers and stuff. Do y'all remember that? I thought it was 1 short too. Why do you think he did that?
Yeah, it was the dead giveaway that he already knew obviously who had won.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the winning vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
He had the numbers wrong.
And so much for a tie, huh? I would have loved to have seen it, except that it was telegraphed. But I guess production fooled us, which is kind of awesome. No tie, just a Ben win. Yay for immunity idols, I guess. I know I sound bitter and angry. I'm not. Not really. Ben played a good game, and I totally get why folks voted for him. Remember, everyone in the game said that Ben needed to go since he'd win easily if he made it to the end. But for me, how he made it to the end is why I wouldn't have voted for him. He didn't get to the end by playing a good game of Survivor. Ryan got to the end by playing a good game of Survivor. No immunities, no idols, well, none played correctly anyway. No advantages, well, none that he used to alter a tribal council anyway. Just good old-fashioned getting along with people. I love Ryan. He's my BFAM. He was awesome out there. He was awesome out there. I knew he wasn't going to win, and I wouldn't have voted for him either. But his presence in the final 3, in a way, highlighted exactly what was dissatisfying about Ben's game. Ryan got there the right way. Ben got there because production messed with the game mechanics to allow him to get there. Now, I don't fault Ben for that. In fact, I give him kudos. He took advantage of the opportunities that were there better than anyone else did. I just don't like that they were there. Anyway, Dwaine is getting frustrated at how long this is, and I've got so much more to say, so I'm going to stop because I can't say it all. They're ones for friends named D&D who podcasted about a show on TV, but the podcast is ending, so best wishes we're sending. Our lives won't be the same without thee. Thank you, Dwaine. Thank you, David. Thank you for laughs and the tears. Thank you for the friendship. Thank you for the entertainment. Thanks for everything. I love you, brothers. Godspeed. Later, peeps. Will, at the Giant Ninja. See, it's a good thing I read through that before I did it, or I would have gotten choked up a little bit. I like it. I think it's very humbling that people like this. So, anyway.
Yeah, I've been meaning to give him some props for his steady feedback the entire time. I always enjoy hearing them, and for calling the Ben win ages ago.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to say that I thought he was completely wrong there for a while, but that's the life of a casual. When you're not paying attention the way the super fans are. But good call.
Steve the whole time was just going, who is this guy? Why do I care?
I'm like, this is like my kid talking about Minecraft. It goes on and on and on.
Oh, Steve.
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. All right, next we have Yogi Sanchez.
See, my son's 13 now, Steve. So every once in a while he'll say, do you know what I'm talking about? Are you still listening to what I'm talking about? So he's getting wise to it. So here's my first feedback on your last D&D episode. About the finale, they just don't need to pretend to play Survivor to give away money. I mean, all the idols for something, but creating a twist only to help the only player that had a guaranteed win get to the end, ridiculous. About the end of D&D. So now to the sad part. Thank you for the many, many hours of entertainment, for the insight on the game. That must be when we have Steve and Andy on. And for everything you've done the past 6 years. You have changed the way I see the game, and I just like it even more since I've been listening to your podcast. And I think Dwaine made an editor's note that it's not the end of D&D, just the weekly Survivor Talk with D&D.
That's right.
I hope you get the time to read this. You guys are great, and I wish you the best of luck. Yogi Sanchez from Madrid, Spain. Ooh. P.S. below. Let me scroll down for that because Dwaine didn't put it on the same page. Thank you. The only good thing about the end of D&D is that I won't have to listen to Will, the big fat white belt karate kid anymore.
And that's Will the Giant Ninja. And Will, just to let you know, I did email Yogi. And he said, oh, yes, he was just kidding. So just to let you know, he's just messing with you.
Will's taking the final 3 no-vote getter heat right now. Yeah. Just everyone's going to trash him.
Yeah. Steve's over there going like, I wasn't joking. I mean it. I wouldn't be surprised if Steve actually hates us. I just wouldn't be surprised.
I hate everybody.
Oh gosh,
he's been like that ever since he got voted out in Maine.
I know. Gosh,
or earlier this year.
Ever since he got his own show, man.
That's what I want to see. When people walk in and the players or the jury just stares at the people as they walk in.
All right. Next is Michael Egan. Season's greetings, Dwaine and David, for the final time. From Mike from Canada. What it says? Oh, yeah, Michael Egan, Mike from Canada. I am disappointed to see the podcast end so abruptly and hope it's possible you can expand on why this decision was made. I think we have. I think we've talked about it. I want to thank you guys for not only providing excellent Survivor analysis with great guests and Survivor players, but also for providing a vehicle where the fans' written as well as spoken words mattered and would always be incorporated into the podcast. That was one of our goals. In fact, we said that very early on because we started feedback the very first episode. Mm-hmm. And we told everybody, look, if you send in feedback, we're going to talk about it. We're not going to just read it and go on.
That's something. After we announced this, I wrote on Facebook that what I like about our podcast is that it always feels like a conference call. It never feels like two guys just talking back and forth. It just feels like a group, and especially when we got the chat room working, it was even better. So that's what I like about our relationship here.
David's favorite part of the podcast was the video portion.
Without a doubt.
He hated being on video. Anyway, now on to the Survivor 35 finale. It seems at all costs the powers that be wanted Ben in the final three at least. When yet another idol ended up in Ben's possession, let's not use the word found, was not enough, Chrissy's advantage was used to move him a step closer to the prize. With most Survivor advantages to date, there is usually an option to use or not use the advantage within a specific time period.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. That option was not there for Chrissy. Further to that, only one person stood to improve their position, so let's call it the Ben advantage. Yeah, there you go. Under normal circumstances...
sorry.
No, ahead. Please, Steve, please.
No, I'm fascinated. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Under normal circumstances, at 4, with the Chrissy win, Ben would be out. Chrissy would likely win, Devin would be second, and Ryan would be third. Under this new wrinkle, Chrissy drops to second, Ryan stays at 3, Devin is 4, and Ben moves to the top. This twist, spin, call it what you will, was the emergency brake to halt the Chrissy juggernaut. Did you want to say something, Steve? I mean, you can.
No, I mean, Oh, it was really good too. What was it?
I tried to.
I don't remember now. So.
Okay, fine.
I mean, they've made a really interesting point, and I was going to.
But was it about the option to use an advantage or not use an advantage?
I mean, here's the thing: we've all had a boss at one point in time who would say, "I have a new opportunity for you," which was not an opportunity whatsoever. It was just you to do the crap work that
more responsibility. Yeah.
And so I think maybe the idea that they called it an advantage is part of the reason why people are so angry about it now. If they had called it a twist, that might have been better. But to go through the whole charade of giving this little advantage, that rolled up piece of paper to Chrissy, and then it's not an advantage at all, it does feel like a bait and switch. But,
you will have control, and she didn't have control really.
Of course, Survivor has a history of the whole there's a message in a bottle. And whoever wins this challenge is going to get to open it and read it. And then you open it, and it's like, both tribes are going to tribal council tonight. Like, that's not special. That's horrible.
Oh, wow. We have great news. A great new twist. No family visit. Instead, we're going to let you look at their pictures.
To be honest, the way my kids were behaving today, that actually wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, really. You went to Disney. You went to Disney today, right?
What's that?
You went to Disney today.
I did.
What fun. See, I never was. Well, anyway, I'm not even going to go there. Any vacation with kids is fun. And yet, when you finally don't have them.
Have 6 of them and let me know what you think.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now that we're empty nest, we went on a cruise last January by ourselves. It was glorious. I'm just saying. All right. So much in the final 3 hours didn't make sense, or did in a not-so-feel-good way. The jury seemed so favorable to Chrissy, yet the votes weren't there. As well, let's look at Devin's vote for Ryan. True, initially both guys bonded, but that unraveled quickly over time. To that end, Devin is a smart guy, and unless you are bitter towards a player, you want your vote to matter. In short, you want to vote for the winner, or at least someone who has a chance to win. Devin did neither. You expect, or at least I do, that once you get to the 4, things play out fairly. Clearly that assumption belongs in the past. No more Survivor for me, Mike.
I mean, people say that all the time. No more Survivor for me, and then there's a new. Now, granted, they're pushing my boundaries with Ghost Island or whatever, but
yes.
Look, the one thing I've got to say that Chrissy did that is something I've always said, and is that people, I loved how she said, "I am a good representative of this season, and you should let me win to be the representative," because that's what people are voting for. Mm-hmm. They really are. They're voting for somebody who can put their own experience into some sort of context. It's like, oh, I would have won, but this person just out. There was a reason why everybody who didn't want to vote for Boston Rob voted for Boston Rob at the end, because they couldn't see a world where they could run around talking about losing Survivor to the 21-year-old girl or crazy Philip Shepard. It's the same thing here. And I think that she was smart enough to understand that people just want to vote for somebody who can be a representative of that season.
Yes.
And I thought, and it worked. It certainly worked for the, the 6th voted out girl. I can't think of her name now.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Yes.
It certainly worked with her because that's what her voting confessional was. So I like to see that.
This feedback reminded me of your point exactly, that was actually brought up in Final Tribal, that we've talked about so much. We don't hear it brought up enough in the show, that you need a good representative of your season. Let me be your representative. And the second thing was what Mike just said, that Devin actually got called in as a witness to Ryan's comment. Can you back that up? Lauren looked right at Devin and said, can you verify what he just said? And I thought that was great. I love that and Devin's like, well, yeah. He was kind of saying it's because, and Joe's like, well, Ryan's trying to say that he's the puppet master now, and you were just a puppet, and this, that, and forth. And I like that. There was some interaction between the jury during that moment. But like Steve just said, I love that was also brought up, that Chrissy said, look, you want me to be your winner because I would be a great representative of this season.
Yeah, well, there's a certain element to, like, whenever you go to a party for the rest of your life and somebody that they find out that you were on Survivor and you're in that conversation with them and they like, well, what season? And then you give them what you lost to Fabio,
right? Right.
It's you don't ever want that. And you guys talked about it last week with Cass, where I've made that argument before about being on the center of the DVD cover, and that's more symbolic than anything. It's just who is the one that your season is remembered for, and it's almost always the winner. And you just want to have the right person as the face of your season. I mean, frankly, Ben, Chrissy, Devin, all would have been perfectly great at the center of that DVD cover.
Yeah. Unless Rupert's in your season, then he's the one you remember.
Of course.
All right.
Rupert, they sing the one player who proves, he's the exception that proves the rule that every returning player inevitably gets better. He gets worse every time he gets out there. Every single time he does worse.
Every time.
That's actually not true, but okay. Go
ahead.
No,
I'm not talking about finishing. I'm talking about his style of gameplay. I just think he's been worse each time. I think
his style of gameplay has stayed the same. It's just the edit has gotten worse. But
okay, fair enough.
I'm just saying, Andy, you're wrong.
Because Steve is the most famous person in this podcast.
Yes.
What's that Christina Cha quote? You're wrong, okay? So shut up.
Yeah. He knows Tim Tebow. You don't, so shut up. There you go. All right, next we have Kieran. Here we go.
Hey, it's Kieran from Maryland. Time for my feedback. Chrissy, Ryan, Devin, and Mike made a rookie mistake by not following Ben when he was looking for the idol. Oh, man, they made a huge mistake. When Chrissy wore that fake idol around her neck and taunted Ben, I was laughing at Tribal Council. Ben made them all look stupid by playing the idol, and Ryan and Devin made a good move of voting against Mike. He went with his gut. Good for him. Ben appeared to be screwed after losing the final main challenge. He basically gave up, but he was saved by that twist at Tribal Council. He won the fire-making tiebreaker challenge and made it to the end. Final Tribal Council was good. There was criticism, but no personal attacks, which I liked. Ben won. Good for him. Going into this episode, I wanted to see Ben or Chrissy win because I thought they were the best players, so happy for Ben. Great job. Him winning was a great ending. Now I would like to talk about his Final Four twist. I feel like this twist was included before filming began, but the reason it was included was to give the biggest threat or player who would beat anybody in the end a chance to make it to the end and win. I feel like David going out at the Final Four in Survivor Millennials versus Gen X prompted this to happen. Production must have known that David was the best player and would have 1,000% won, and they were definitely angry when he went out. So that's why I feel like they decided to include this twist. They wanted a player like that a chance to make it to the end and win. I didn't like that. I don't like that they're manipulating that much. They shouldn't do that. Stop helping the players that much. So this twist was ridiculous in my opinion. I also didn't like that there were so many idols out there. They rehid so many idols. Stop doing that. Rehide 3 or 4, but not like 7 or 8. And don't put an idol out there at the final 5, especially with this new twist. So don't do that. One more thing I didn't like was the reunion show because Jeff talked to only 4 people and talked to like 7 or 8 people in the audience. Why is he doing that? Stop. I can understand him talking to Ben's friend because the whole PTSD thing, but the other people, I'm like, no, stop. In a way, you're disrespecting the other players by talking to the audience and not them. He spends so much time with the audience. I'm like, dude, quit that. I didn't like that he did that. He shouldn't talk to the audience, in my opinion. The audience shouldn't be allowed to talk because they weren't on the season. The 18 players were on the season, so they should have more of a right to talk than the audience. So I didn't like that. Other than that, this was a really good season. The finale was great. I loved it. This was a great ending, in my opinion. Well, that's it. Wow, I really enjoyed this podcast. I've been watching for a couple of years, and I've loved it. So sad it's coming to end, but obviously you guys got to do what you got to do. Thank you for being awesome on this podcast, and I'm going to miss it. I hope the Facebook group stays strong. Well, good luck, guys. Have a great life.
Have a great life, David. David, you're muted. Yeah, 321 episodes.
I've already started my great life. So
yeah, 321 episode. You still don't unmute.
Life unmute.
That's right. He brought up a good point in that. Okay, you audience people, now that you know Ben has an idol, what should Devin do? Like, really? You could have asked them since they were watching the show. Well, surely he should vote for Mike. Doesn't want to just throw it all on Ben, knowing he's got an idol. Yeah, I'll agree with Kieran on that. There was too much audience time, not enough Survivor time.
Yeah.
All I've got to say is that's my absolute favorite feedback I've ever heard. Because how many times did he say, "Jeff Probst, stop it"? I was like, "Yeah, I like
it." We need to get him a seat at a finale so he can say it to Jeff live.
I would pay him money to stand up and say it. Granted, the CBS security goons would take him off, but it would be worth it.
Yeah. All right. Next we have Faith from Ephrata, Washington. I'm going to read this one and let David read the Gwen one. So, hey, D&D, Steve and Andy. First, thank you guys for a great show. I know it'll be a good one. I love the puzzles for last night's immunity challenges. I just want to say I like the twist. I know you've discussed it, but I wanted to share that the first thing I said was, dang, I wish they would have had this on Second Chances. Imagine how excited my Ephrata girl Kelly would have been to have a chance at winning her way there. Anyway, it was a good season, and I'll miss you, D&D. See you in the Facebook group. Your friend from Washington State, Faith from Ephrata, Washington, now in Olympia. Go Hawks! Beat them Cowboys. Washington needs the pick-me-up. There's Faith. She gave me something. Seahawk flag. Yeah.
Both Washingtons need to pick me up. So that would be good. In our chat room, thank you, Faith. In our chat room, Sunday brought up, I'm not so muted, am I? Because everybody's okay.
No.
Sunday brought up that they were talking about the Anna Kate confessional pose where she was lying sideways like Sports Illustrated. And Sunday said she actually asked the producer, who in the world puts Anna Kate in that position for that confessional while she was out there? And the producer said, oh, that was me. So she was actually talking to the guy that did it.
That's funny. All right, next we have Miriam, so a.k.a. Vader Girl.
Hi, Dave and Dwaine, and D&D listeners, friends, family members, everybody. This is Miriam, a.k.a. Vader Girl, calling from Everett, Washington. First, I want to say this is a very surreal experience for me, leaving my last and final voicemail and feedback for D&D Survivor Talk. I am so much going to miss you guys. I'm so much going to miss this community and our Thursday nights together and listening to you guys. I really think you guys are amazing. You have amazing chemistry. There's just something really special about you guys. And I just really hope you guys continue to do podcasting. And you're both so talented. And you really do provide a forum and a voice for Survivor Talk that is different than everybody else, and you really are needed and appreciated. We love you guys. I also wanted to thank Mark Piercy and everyone else who put together that wonderful video. I'm very honored I was able to participate. Twilight is too, my cat. And thank you guys so much. We love you guys. D&D rules. Number 2, Ben's win. Wow, last night I was just so emotional. It was a really great finale. I am beyond happy that Ben won. Ben, we love you. Thank you so much for your service. I've got to thank you personally for sharing, having the bravery to share your story about your struggles with PTSD. Like I've said before, I also have PTSD. I hope you guys realize by CBS and Survivor highlighting Ben and his struggle with PTSD, that gave hope. That probably saved a lot of lives last night. I want to thank Ben. I want to thank CBS. I want to thank Jeff Probst. I want to thank all of you guys for just highlighting that. That just gives so much hope right now in the holidays for somebody who's struggling with PTSD that you can move on. Life does get better. You're not alone. Never give up. So Ben, we love you. Thank you so much. I'm just so glad you won. And thank you so much for everything. Number 3, Chrissy. My feelings oscillated a lot last night. I had a lot of emotions. I was upset that Chrissy didn't win in some ways, and in some ways really happy that Ben won. I mean, Chrissy, you're amazing. As a feminist and a woman and a mother, thank you for sharing your story, proving that women over 30 can play an amazing game, win competitions, be fierce, beautiful, strong. And Chrissy, I love you. I think you're amazing. Thank you. I don't like the negative Chrissy talk. I never liked it. I was always Team Chrissy. I thought those 4 girls that were talking bad about you, it was very high school and mean girls to me. I never once listened or believed anything they had to say. It just reminded me of junior high school. And shame on you to you 4 girls for even talking about her like that. It was really nasty and also a spoiler. So, Chrissy, we love you. You may not have won the title of Soul Survivor, but you won the game, girl. Go on with your bad self. We love you, girl. Number 4, Ryan, my winner's pick. I still love you. I saw something in you. I guess it was like the David Wright. I'm really good at maybe picking somebody who's going to have like a longevity in the game. I love your turtlenecks. I thought you did really good at the final tribal, but I just didn't think you had a chance when it came to the 2 people you were playing against to win. I mean, they had just so much on their resume. And, Ryan, your game was great pre-merge, but I think after the merge, you kind of lost control of a lot of things. But I love you, baby. May the force be with you. Number 5, the reunion. I know a lot of people were upset that Jeff didn't interview the cast. I myself would have liked to see Alan Ball and get some quotes from the cast. However, I loved the reunion. I think, again, that CBS made the right choice and Jeff made the right choice in highlighting Ben and the struggle with PTSD because, like I said, it's a real problem in this country. We need to show people with PTSD that there is a reason to keep on living, keep on fighting, keep on trying, never giving up. And I think it was really important that CBS highlighted Ben, his struggle with PTSD and overcoming that. They brought in the other Marines. I think that was so important. So I'm all for what they did. I just wish maybe they would have had an extra on the CBS All Access, since we're paying for it anyways. Number 6, the Coconuts. I love the Coconuts. Team Coconuts for life. They are hysterical. I would love to see even more with those two guys together. I think Dr. Mike and Joe, definitely my faves. They're like just funny guys. Love the Coconuts. Love you, Joe Mena. Love you, Dr. Mike. More. Number 7, Devin. Devin, I wanted to apologize. I'm sorry that I was kind of negative towards you. I guess sometimes I get negative when everybody else is talking so great about somebody. And because I was so Team Ryan, I got a little bit emotionally invested. And when you betrayed Ryan, I got hurt myself. So, Devin, I just wanted to apologize. You're an amazing guy. So I'm sorry you didn't win, but I'm sure I'll see you back because you're amazing. And number 8, I'm going to miss all you guys so much, and I just can't thank D&D enough. I will forever and always continue to support you guys, and I'm going to miss you guys. This is just heartbreaking. Please reconsider. I really would love to hear you guys for Ghost Island. There's just nobody who fills your niche. You guys just have something special, and I can't thank you again. And finally, happy holidays, everybody. Please don't ever give up. You're never alone. Life is worth living. God bless you all. May the force be with you. My black cat says hello. I hope you guys eat healthy for the holidays. Diet's important. Eat lots of kale and superfoods. This is Mir I Am. Final feedback. Bye, guys.
It'll be nearly impossible to fill our niche because it's so small you can't find it. Thank you, whoever laughed.
That was me.
Okay.
I'm still laughing at the fact that I think she loves everybody that was on this season.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
She does. Yeah. Oh, man.
She made up with Devin. That was good.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have Gwen from Santa Barbara. And, by the way, Miriam did send in her singing Gwen's feedback from last week. But I asked her to go ahead and post that to Facebook, because it was another 2.5 minutes or so, and her feedback was already 6.5. So I went ahead and asked her to do that. So look for it on our Facebook group, and she will sing. She has a good voice, too. All right, here we go. This is Gwen from Santa Barbara.
Hello, D&D and guest. Who are the guests and why do we care? I added that part. First, the business. 1, I think this is the first time I got my feedback in before the deadline. Go me. 2, David, listen and watch Psych. It is on Amazon Prime, which I do have free for the month because I got rid of it, and then I picked it back up for the delivery service, which I got, so thank you. 3, Vader Girl is the best singer ever. So she says, okay, so I am mentally exhausted from being ticked off during the finale last night. I was looking at my tweets, and they pretty much sum up my reactions throughout the 3 hours. No need to rephrase. I will preface this by saying that Ben seems like a great guy and a deserving winner. My issues are more about production and how Ben should not have made it to the final 3 in the first place. So these are all like live during the show tweets that she put it as her feedback. So these are her tweets. Here we go. Ugh. Next tweet. I'm really tempted to just not watch this finale. Stop giving Ben idols.
Okay, so what's fun about this feedback is thinking about, okay, where was she in the show when she tweeted this? You know what I mean?
If she was at the first idol,
yeah.
Where was she?
Where was she? Okay, on the next tweet, where was she when she tweeted this one? Okay, go ahead, David.
Next tweet. Thank the Survivor Devil that Chrissy won that immunity. Which one? She won both of them.
Yeah, really.
Next tweet. Dear Jeff Probst, there is a next time. It's called All Stars. Fans versus favorites. Heroes versus villains. Second chance. And all those other returnee seasons. Oh, and Redemption Island or Ghost Island? Next tweet. If I was on the jury, I'd rank Devin's move of voting for Mike over Ben finding idols.
Yeah, I would too.
Next tweet. Jeff definitely just called a random lady old.
Did he really? Did he?
Was it the one with the daughter? I mean, that stood up and
I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of that.
Speaking of that shot of when the girl was writing the vote on her back, you could see John Batea in the background. He got
really?
into the finale.
Good for him.
Wow.
Good for him.
Next tweet, Chrissy. That is not an advantage. Next tweet. The best part of the Final Four tribal is Joe Mina on the jury. Next tweet. Do you mean to tell me that without the stupid twist, Ben would have gone home? Next tweet, you guys, my pregame winner pick, Ryan, might actually have a chance. Unlikely, but possible. Next, what does Ben have besides idols handed to him by production? Someone please tell me. Next tweet, who would have guessed that Desi would be the final tribal jury foreperson? Girls slay. I'm not going to read that other part. Next tweet, you guys, what if Chrissy and Ryan tie and Ben has to cast a tiebreaker vote? Next tweet, Ben just dropped the H word during final tribal eye roll. What's the H word?
I guess HELL, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the whole season is H's, heroes and hell. Here,
yeah.
There's so many,
There's so many H words, David.
Well, that was Chrissy calling herself a hero, a healer, and a hustler. So anyway, D asterisk N.
Oh,
So
Gwen says the H word was hero.
Okay. Chrissy played the Triple H. Oh, sorry. I just said when you said their tweet. Good. Next tweet. How short can we cut the reunion, Jeff? Jeez.
Which, by the way, I thought that was a pretty good move on her part, calling herself all three.
Yes,
I thought
that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of her whole "I can define your season" pitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All three.
Yeah. All right. So read the one that you just read because I talked over it.
Okay. It was, how short can we cut the reunion, Jeff? Jeez. Next tweet in all caps. If you have to explain all of Ben's moves at the finale, you are obviously covering something up.
Andy is nodding his head dramatically.
That just felt like such a "we're serious, he earned his way into the end" montage.
We mean it.
Actually, I want to commend Dwaine there for pulling a Probst moment. Ashley, your eyes are bugging out of your head and not being picked. As if we can't see it. So Dwaine calls out Andy's physical motions. Good job.
We are the only three who saw it. So there.
That's right. Next tweet, Jeff knows he will be coming home to a lot of Twitter hate. Next tweet, hashtag Chrissy was robbed. Hashtag start the reunion already. Hashtag secret season of secrets, aka season of production secret that they wanted Ben to win. Jeff, the reunion can't continue if it hasn't started yet. Next tweet, Gwen should get a lot of followers after this. These are good. Next tweet, Survivor Ghost Island. Let's tick off fans even more by stuffing in more advantages and twists. Last few tweets. Still waiting on the reunion. Tweet, if Chrissy was a man, would she have beat Ben?
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay, look, I do think, somebody said before, at least she didn't get the mom backlash and everything. She didn't get the mom backlash loudly, but she got it because she only got 2 votes.
Yeah.
She played a better game. Her game was a strong game. It was a winning game. It was a game that could have been rewarded with $1 million.
Yes.
I understand why the jury went the way that they went. And again, I loved Ben from day one. But, I kind of thought at one point when I was seeing something different partway through when she and Ryan got together. I was like, oh, no. You can't be the 40-year-old woman who hooks up with the 20-year-old guy and work together. Didn't you see how Dawn and Cochran? I know how this story ends. But yeah, I do think there is something to the fact that we don't want our moms to act that way. And again, I think it cost her the game. I do.
Well, there you go. So he says yes.
And I'm right. So
yeah,
because he's the most famous person on this podcast.
That's right.
Exactly.
He's the only famous person on this podcast.
Which circle you're in? Okay. Next tweet. If a reunion falls in a forest in Fiji and no one is around to hear it, is it really the worst reunion ever? Next tweet. I need White Rose to convince me that there will actually be a reunion during the West Coast Alien Survivor.
I'm sorry. That was really funny.
Last tweet. Upon further reflection, hashtag Devin was robbed. I will miss you guys. Santa Barbara out. Gwen from Santa Barbara.
And I don't know if Gwen realizes this, but because she gets her feedback in so late, she's the last person to ever leave feedback on our show.
There we are.
I like Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen's quite humorous.
That was good. Good tweets.
So before we sign off, I do want to, and we'll give you all a chance to say whatever you want to say about the season and stuff. But I want to thank Ryan Kaiser and Katya for blogging on our website. And I want to let you know that Ryan Kaiser will be moving to Rob Has a Podcast, Family of Bloggers, beginning next season. So I'm very happy for him. So Ryan Kaiser over at Rob Has a Podcast, Family of Bloggers. And I got to be honest with you, I think he's going to be one of the best ones they got because he's really good. So good job. Well, Andy and Steve, I personally enjoyed this season of Survivor. I'm actually kind of looking forward to next season, just to kind of get to watch it casually and not have to take notes and everything. It's
Oh, that is nice. The best, by the way.
It really is.
Because back when I was doing all the exit interviews, Survivor wasn't fun to watch. Now it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So you'll like that.
Yeah, you too, Andy, because you used to write that blog. And
yeah, no, I mean, every now and again I get that itch to write, but I do just enjoy sitting with the family and taking it in, and you notice some things, but you don't have to get your hackles up, and I don't have to fold any tin foil anymore. It's really, I got all this time on my hands now.
Right. You know what's crazy is what we're doing right now is my favorite part of podcasting. Just actually talking and doing the show. But everything else became a burden, you know? And so it's going to be nice to sit back and enjoy the show. And, you know, every once in a while we might get the bug and get on like once a season and go, okay, what the heck was that? You know, but
I hope so.
But
it'll be fun because I got to talk to Andy while he was taking his walks and listening to us. He'd start texting me about comments that our guest made or Dwaine made or I made, and it would always be signed Andy, the casual viewing friend. So he would remind me that he was just a casual watcher. But I'm hoping the casual watcher becomes a weekly blogger again. So I missed that.
Well, so like I said, I'm actually kind of looking forward to Ghost Island. I think it'll be kind of fun to watch and to critique like we always do. And so I also enjoyed this season. I never really felt like I was getting robbed of a good season. I really do think any survivor's good survivor, so I enjoyed it. So what was y'all's overall look at the season? Y'all will be much more articulate than I was, but what are y'all's thoughts, David, too? Not just David too.
No, go ahead.
No, I at first I thought, oh man, this season's really slow. I really did, and it caught me somewhere around the merge. It really got me, as I guess it was JP's blind side is when I was like, oh, okay, maybe we got something here. But hey, there's been other seasons that I thought were absolutely awful, and then the last few episodes, redeemed them. San Juan del Sur is one of them. So I was happy with the season. I think was it the best season of Survivor I've ever seen? No.
Well, no.
It was. Hey, it beats 99% of the stuff that's on TV. So.
Yeah.
Now, of course, in that 1% are your shows. To make that clear.
Oh no! My shows are awful, but you got to watch them because they're so awful that it's such a guilty pleasure.
Yes,
and we're in season 5,
and the host is so handsome.
I know. You should see my fan mail, especially now that I have a beard.
No. I can only imagine.
We've seen some of your fan mail. You have some interesting fan mail there.
I'll echo what Steve was saying. It was a good season. I think honestly, sometimes you have to take the toys away from the producers, and then things get better. And as soon as the romantic angle between Jessica and Cole ended when she got booted, like the show sort of found its legs. Like suddenly they could focus on things we genuinely wanted to see.
Right.
And then it got good, and we had rootable people at the end who had different arguments to make. So, and you've heard me say it before, but even bad Survivor is still pretty great television, and this was okay Survivor. So it was, it was fun.
Yep. David,
like Steve said, whenever it starts slow or it feels slow, or even Probst calls it slow, I just think about the fact that if I'm out there and everybody's going in first gear, I'm not going to go in third gear and stick my neck out there to get it chopped off. I'm going to go in 1.5 gear, 2 if I can get away with it. But I'm kind of going to go as slow as they're going. I'm not going to, blaze a trail through the season. I enjoyed it. And I'll agree with Andy. Any Survivor is good Survivor. Even a season of recruits, it'd be hard to watch. And it would be funny to watch these idiots do something that almost makes sense. But Survivor is Survivor. It's a social game. I hated that the social part almost went away at the end of this one. But this season was full of some good people that I want to see play again. And I think that covered a lot of the ground for me as far as this being a watchable season. I thought it was really good. I did. There was enough highs in the episodes for the lows that came from them too.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's it.
What about you?
I already talked about what I thought.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening.
And that is our podcast in a nutshell. David saying, sorry, I wasn't listening.
I wanted that to be my final words. So.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say before you shut it on down, it's one of my firm beliefs in life that we need to create more than we consume, and we need to bring things into the world. And I'm grateful for your podcast. I'm grateful for your kindness and hospitality and putting up with me coming on the show. You brought something beautiful into the world, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Survivor Talk was our baby, David. It was conceived in my dining room.
Oh, jeez.
It was.
My daughter was.
I don't want to know that, Steve Helling. Wow. No, but it really was. We talked about it. Oh, we've told this story so many times. I won't tell it again. So, but anyway, it's been
is that show still on? So
yeah, really, it's been a fun run, David. I've enjoyed doing it with you, and it's been fun having Steve and Andy on. And golly, we've had y'all on a lot. So, and it was a lot of fun having you on. In fact, it was good to meet y'all through this show.
That's true. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's one of the beautiful things about Survivor. It's this little family that you end up getting to know everybody, the crazy and the amazing. I think I've told the story before, but I went to one finale when I first met Steve, and I really didn't know a lot of people at that point, and it was fantastic. And then a few years later, I went to another finale, and I walked up and down the line, and like everybody knew everybody. And I knew all of these people at that point. It's just everyone welcomes you in and you're a part of it. So even though you guys aren't podcasting and may occasionally do a podcast, wherever you go, you're going to be like Survivor podcast rock stars. Everybody knows who you are.
No, that's not true. That's not true. And remember, a little plug here. We're not, David and I still podcast. We do movie talk with D&D occasionally. In fact, I think we're going to do the next Star Wars, The Last Jedi. And we're going to still do Rewind Fast Forward. I'm sure we'll do Stranger Things 2, which will be a lot
I did
of fun.
play in Durham Warriors, and nobody knew who I was.
There you go.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
We I played Durham Warriors, and
Steve Helling. Steve
like, oh, Steve Helling's playing.
That's right. Steve Helling, we are not. So anyway, and then if you're interested, I am going to do a show called Things I Want to Talk About, which is going to be about things I want to talk about. So anyway. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. It's been a fun show. Been a fun run. Thank you, Steve, for coming on. Thank you, Andy, for coming on. I am going to stop the live feed. Thank you all for listening, however long you listened. It was awesome having you. And stay on the Facebook group. Stay on the Facebook group. Bye, everybody. See you.